What's our what's our delay?
I don't think there is one, but I wasn't watching, so hold on. Okay, now. I think we're all right.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
If Yep, I got you. Oh,
Jerry?
which what's his name? Oh, the United fan? No, I never reached out to him. I forgot all about it. That's my bad. Hey, any publicity is good publicity in my head. Well, I mean, we're a New Mexico United podcast, and we're New Mexico United fans. So not, I mean, very very rarely are we going to be like, oh yeah, I think Phoenix, I think El Paso, I think Colorado, I think they're going to beat us tonight. Like nobody says that if you're a fan podcast. So it's dumb for him to be like, oh, this guy has said 3-1. He didn't predict that it would be 2-1 El Paso. He's stupid. Like, of course we're not going to do that. I don't. Yeah. Nah, we'll just let him. We'll just let him stir.
Yeah.
I'm typing.
So do we
I can't type and talk. So
oh
earlier
no, hey, you're fine.
you're gonna have to.
So so at what point do we introduce Seth to FEP?
Oh yeah, before the podcast, but before we actually start the podcast.
Well, we're on YouTube right now, so
That's fine. Just before we start the podcast.
okay. So Seth, in the chat, in our Zencaster chat, I put FEP. It is a new saying. So we had a pretty good discussion on Friday night, standing at the goal line watching the kids behind us cheer their freaking heads off.
Dude, those kids are gonna make an appearance. Well, not an appearance, but I will talk about those kids later. They were the best.
So me and some Burman have decided that Phoenix is not a rival because they're just that much better than everything.
I wasn't on board with this. Just let the record show.
Yeah, so as the record stands, Jacob is still not on board, but then he is also still looking at that panic button.
Okay, so,
whoa.
Okay, so
anyways, it's my moment to shine.
All right.
So me and Suburban decided that Phoenix is not on the same level as what United is, and they're that much better than the world. El Paso, on the other hand, we're neck and neck with them, so we've decided that El Paso is the rivalry. So it's United and El Paso as the rivalry. So in the chat, there is FEP, FEP. And for you on YouTube, for you fans on YouTube, you're about to get a sneak peek of what FEP means.
Earmuffs.
Expletive.
Oh yeah, earmuffs and explicits and kids. If you're listening, close your ears, put it on mute, whatever you have to do. Um, so we've changed it from fuck Phoenix to FEP,
Okay.
I
which
think you can.
stands for.
I think you can put it together from there.
All right. You know, honestly, I think I'm coming around on the El Paso rivalry a little bit more. I was one of the people that contended that Phoenix was the rival. You know, I didn't see much of a rivalry there with El Paso to begin with.
So I think if it would have been normal years, non-COVID, where we're playing everybody twice and that's it,
mm-hmm.
I think I would still be on Phoenix is the number one rivalry. El Paso's a distant number two. But when you play El Paso so many times in the last 2 years and still have to play them a couple more times, it's there's just so much sports hatred there between the fan bases and the players and everything like that. Like, and then the fact that we didn't see El Paso last year, or not El Paso, Phoenix last year, and we're going to get them only once this year. Like, yeah, I still hate. I hate Phoenix. Still, they're still a rival. They're just not the rival.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our pre-show. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, thank you guys so much for being here. As you guys know, each and every week we do record live here on YouTube at 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time, or as close to it as we can possibly manage. And we are busy. We are family men. We have kids. We have wives. We have lives going on. So we sit down after late night.
You scared the shit out of me, Earl. Why, Earl? Why?
Earl is apparently. I don't even know what that was. Sound like a drill, maybe.
You're gonna have fun editing that. So.
It's not in the podcast. We're not even. Yeah, a little drill.
Oh,
all
that's
right.
true. That's true.
But that was a YouTube special.
If you're hanging out with us, of course, pop in the chat, throw us your questions, your comments. We will answer them throughout the show tonight. And appreciate you guys being here as always. And let's get right into it. Episode number 49. Sam's injury is going to be our tentative title here, but we got a lot to get to. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas, the official podcast of Somos Mas NM, and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United, and the occasional weekly sports discussion about the world of sports from everything around us. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Thank you guys for joining us here on YouTube, and if you're listening to us on your podcast services later in the week, don't forget you can join us Tuesday nights, 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time on our YouTube channel. And you can be part of the show by getting your questions and comments in the chat. And the three of us here and any guests that we have will get to your questions and we'll discuss some United with you guys. Joining me tonight, we have Earl Nieto and Jacob Terrell. And guys, I have one burning question for you. Did you watch the Home Run Derby? You're muted.
There we go. I actually did, for 3 reasons. One, it just finished.
Yeah, hang on. I think it's because you touched your microphone.
Where are those? Oh. I thought it was just a bunch of the mints.
I think it's because you touched your microphone.
Say it again.
I think it stopped because you touched your microphone.
I blame Earl since he's not here still.
All right, YouTube, stick with us. We had a technical issue with Zencaster. As soon as Earl loads back in, we will be ready to go. So hopefully everyone's having a fantastic Tuesday night. If you are with us in the chat, please throw your questions and comments in there, and we'll talk to you guys throughout the show. waiting for Earl. Waiting for Earl.
Earl, you need microphone access.
Oh, what the heck is going on, guys?
Earl doesn't have a mic.
Oh, man. We're going to try this one more time, guys. All right, there's Jacob.
Yay! There we go. Hopefully.
There's Earl. We good, Earl?
Test.
All
Yeah,
right,
yeah, you're good.
there we go. All right, I think we're good.
So that was my fault, everybody. I'm sorry.
Quit touching stuff, Earl.
It was that damn drill, Earl.
Now I gotta go and mess with my my video settings again, Earl. It's all your fault, man. Because it messed with my window.
Jacob is Earl, and Earl is Jacob.
All right, we got that fixed. But all right, anyway, YouTube, we're back. Thank you for sticking with us, and we're gonna get right back into our burning question. The burning question I put out to the guys was, "Did you watch the All-Star game this week?" And Jacob was about to answer us.
Well, I believe you asked just specifically about the home run derby.
Yeah.
Which I did. Well, at least parts of it. There was a United game on, so I was kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit. But one, there was a Rocky player in it. It was at Coors Field. So I
Hold on. Wait. Who are the Rockies?
it was at Coors Field, and then I think everybody wanted to see Otani in there, and he wasn't a disappointment. Like him and Soto had a great first round, but he didn't make it out of the first round, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, I had it on and here and there. I didn't catch every single home run or every single at bat, but I saw most of it, and I was impressed with it. I thought it was pretty good.
Earl, did you watch any of the home run derby?
So, nope, I did not. I also did not watch any of the All-Star game today, so I have other things going on in life right now that's just hell.
Yeah.
And so, no, I did not watch, other than United, I didn't watch anything. That, and I don't have ESPN. I'm not rich like Jacob, so.
I'm bumming off my parents, guys.
Oh, must be nice. See, my mom doesn't watch sports, much less TV.
Well, see, my stepdad, who has the DirecTV account, watches Rockies baseball and the news, and that's basically it. But he has DirecTV, so, and I know the login, so there we go.
Well, apparently, I read a report that said that the Rockies pitching staff was throwing BP last night during the home run derby. So it's nice of them to step up and be involved in the All-Star weekend.
Night, guys. I'm out.
We're poking a little bit of fun at Jacob here, being a Rockies fan. But no, on a serious note, Jacob, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani, and I'm going to assume that you guys caught what happened over the weekend with our friend Stephen A. and his comments about Shohei Ohtani. No? Earl, did you? Okay.
I don't pay attention to the sports world. Like, Stephen A. is so far down on my radar that...
Hey, you take that back. You take that back.
Sorry. The original Stephen A. is so far down on my radar. Our Stephen A. I text on a daily basis. Okay. So...
All right, so I wanted to bring this up because I want to get you guys' reaction to this. So apparently over the weekend, Stephen A. put out a statement saying something to the effect of, how can the face of baseball be someone that requires an interpreter? And
sounds
apparently
like
Stephen A. has been trying to walk this back ever since. I mean, I personally have no issue at all with Shohei Ohtani. Shohei is the first true two-way player since Babe Ruth, and he has been absolutely fantastic for baseball this season. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that an interpreter should be a gateway into being the face of a sport.
He competed in the home run derby, and he started for the AL as a pitcher. Like that that has never happened in our lifetime. Probably will never happen again in our lifetime unless he breeds like a whole new baseball player and he changes the game. But I mean, I could, if I squint my eyes and tilt my head a little bit, I can kind of see where Stephen A is coming from. But at the same time, like you said, we haven't seen anybody like Otani since Babe Ruth, which means us three have never seen anybody like him. And I love it. I think it's great. So at this point, with the way baseball is struggling, I don't care who the face of baseball is. I'm just happy there's a face of baseball because for years there hasn't been. Like Mike Trout is so boring, even though he's a very good baseball player. And then everybody else I can't stand except for Tatis. I like Tatis. But like anybody else that you throw out there,
He's injured.
Anybody else that you throw
Wait,
out there,
Acuna. Never mind.
yeah, yeah. Pour one out for Seth and the Braves over there. But like Bellinger or
Harper,
Trout, like they just all none of them do anything for me. So this is finally something that I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome that he's pitching and DHing for the American League All-Star game.
Yeah, I just, I saw those comments from Stephen A. And I look at it, I'm going, okay, I think he's wildly out of line with this. I mean, I don't care if Shohei Ohtani needs an interpreter. I don't care if Ronald Acuna needs an interpreter. I don't care if Ichiro Suzuki needed an interpreter. I mean, some of these guys, they did learn, they went above and beyond to learn English while they were here in the States. And yet, several of them have come out and said, we had an interpreter there because English is such a tricky language. Like if we get nervous or if we get tripped up, we want to make sure that we're saying the right thing.
Right.
And I just think, I'm not sold on Stephen A's, backtracking of this. And I think he was wildly out of line to say that, that he shouldn't be the face of baseball because he has to use an interpreter.
Well, so without hearing the actual quote, like when you first said it and worded it the way that you worded it, my thought was it wasn't like it was a bad thing that he had an interpreter. It was a bad thing that an American can't be like that there's not an American that can be the face of baseball. Like it's America's pastime. There should be an American that has stepped up and become the face of baseball, and there hasn't. And the way you worded it made me think that Stephen A was calling out us as Americans for not producing the face of baseball. Not so much saying this guy is a joke, he has an interpreter, he shouldn't be the face of baseball because he can't speak English. I took it as more, where are you at, Americans? Why can't we have somebody that's as awesome and interesting as Shohei Ohtani? But again, I didn't hear his quote, so I don't know exactly what he said or how he worded it. And so I'll have to defer to you on that and just say, and honestly, I mean, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that he said something controversial because it's Stephen A. and he doesn't know when to shut up. And this is all very painful to Earl's ears because Stephen A. is his idol. He actually has a picture of him above his bed.
Above his bed. Okay.
Above his bed, so when he lays there at night, he can just stare up at Stephen A. Pointing down with his
so hold on a minute. I have to correct you a little bit.
Oh, just a little bit.
No, just a little bit. No, I don't have a picture of Stephen A. in my bedroom. I don't have a picture of Stephen A. in my office. But I do have a full back facial tattoo of Stephen A.
Yes. That's right.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, so and I'm actually trying to pull up the comment from Stephen A., but it's a 10-minute clip, and I'm not going to go through that. So, anyways, yes, I'm actually kind of offended by this conversation. So, if we can move on to a different topic, because as as many people know on YouTube, I say some stupid shit. Um, Stephen A says some stupid shit, and that's kind of where I get my stupid shit from. Is from Stephen A. So, carry on.
All right. Well, I mean, I wanted to get I wanted to get the reaction from the two of you on that because it did kind of dominate the sports media over the weekend, and it was just something that kind of stuck out. And yes, Stephen A is a $12 million a year talking head for ESPN, and just ESPN has not had a good run of things here over the past 2 weeks with some of their on-air talent and saying things that they shouldn't be saying. So I'm happy to move on from this. We've got a lot of United stuff to talk about. We've got 2 matches that happened over the weekend, and both of which turned out in the favor of New Mexico United. Going back to Friday night, we'll start there. Friday night, New Mexico United played Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC and came away victorious in that one by a final of 3-1 after some fantastic stoppage time goals. Mike Azira and Ilya Illich both opened their accounts in the black and yellow this weekend, so congratulations to those guys. I mean, let's go back, and I didn't pull up the highlight. I did not download the highlights from that match. I didn't want to show Sam's injury, even though it's not necessarily a gruesome injury as we've seen in some other sports, such as the UFC recently. But I felt like it would be in bad taste to show that. We'll certainly talk about Sam. But going back to Friday night, we were all at the game. A little bit of a weather delay, which it happens. And fortunately, the match was able to get played, and United came out, and I thought they played a pretty good match.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what happened there. I thought you were going to have a question, and then you just stopped, seeming like mid thought. But yeah, I was upset Friday, and after you guys dropped me off, I realized we didn't do our little live thing, and it was probably a good thing because had we done it right then and there, I probably would have said some stuff that I no longer think, especially after the Charleston match. But well, kind of after the Charleston match, we'll get to that one later. It was still a sloppy game, and we still had a bunch of chances that we didn't finish. Thank God for Michael Azira and Isidro Martinez with a beautiful connection there on the corner and stoppage time to get a header in. Because had we not won that game, the panic button would have been pressed. But process one out, and we got the 3 points there. But I mean, Guzman had 3 turnovers in his first 4 touches. He had a terrible pass. Just basically started a fast break for Colorado Springs that luckily Tim Bacchus is superhuman at times and was able to come out and make a stop. And then the goal was given up off of a terrible right-in turnover that he has had a few of this year, which was something we never saw last year. But he has had a few of those that have either cost us or similarly to Guzman's turnover, could have cost us if it wasn't for his teammates having his back. And you look at it and you're like 3-1, yes, against a 10-man team, yes, against the team, one of the hottest teams in the USL at the time. That's fantastic. We still couldn't stop Haji Berry, but I'm okay with that because I personally love Haji Berry.
See, I'm going to disagree with you there. I think
we stopped it.
I think we did. I think we did a much better job of containing him.
We did.
And
we did.
talking to Troy,
he still scored though.
Well, he did, but the thing about that though, that was a mistake. That wasn't him breaking free. That wasn't him coming loose on a run or getting in behind. That was a mental error that resulted in a goal. So I won't say that he beat us. I will say that he took advantage of a mistake.
but when players are hot like that, mistakes find them.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that happens when they're around. And yes, it was a mistake by Ryden. Ryden still smothered Haji Berry inside the penalty area, and Haji Berry somehow found a way through him, and then got the shot off right before Sam got there, and so he still worked his magic enough to find the back of the net, and he when a player's that hot, that's just going to happen. But if those goals don't come in stoppage time, and we're sitting there up a man for 40 minutes plus stoppage time, and we see, I think it was a Cedro had kind of a sitter like Brian Brown a couple games ago, and just skied it into the curse, and then you just see lack of final touches and lack of touch in the final third over and over again until that Azira goal. You just be extremely frustrated with that outcome. But luckily, we found a way to finish. We found a way to get 3 points, and it seemed like it sparked the team going into Monday's match. So I think that while there are 100 things that I could nitpick about for 90 minutes, that I do feel like we played better that match than we had been playing. It's just those mistakes had to stop. We just had to stop turning the ball over and giving the opposing team chances like we had been. And luckily they did that Monday.
Earl, going back to the match on Friday.
So I agree with you, Jacob. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, going back to the match on Friday, obviously we know at this point, and we'll talk about it here also. There were 9 yellow cards Friday night and a red card. United did play up a man for, I think it was around 40 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think, or I should say, do you think it was a failure on United's part to not take advantage of that of going up a man, or do you think it was credit to Colorado Springs and how they played because they continued to go forward even though they had 10 men?
So it's a little bit both. So the first one, it is slight. So no, I think Colorado Springs is that good of a team, especially any team with Haji Berry on there. Is an incredible team. I mean, he had chances. He didn't obviously beat us, thank God. Otherwise, I'd probably be sitting here moping around like a little schoolgirl. But no, I don't think. I think it's a mixture of both. I think Colorado Springs responded well, being down a man. I mean, they relied on their star. But I do think that United didn't respond as well, especially being up a man. But it wasn't from the forwards not trying or anything, or the defense not doing anything. It was the middle line. It was our midfield. And I'm not talking about Tenari or Suggsy or Christian Nava when he came in or anything like that.
Cue the Guzman.
We all know where I'm going with this one. He, and I don't even know how to say this nicely, without sounding like a Stephen A. So fuck it, I'm gonna go Stephen A. Guzman should not be starting, and I don't know how or what coach sees in Guzman that he keeps starting, but there should be no reason that we see JPG or Guzman or Juan Pablo Guzman or whatever they want to put on the lineup every week. He shouldn't be in the starting 11. He can come off the bench. He'd probably be a really good bench player, but he should not be starting.
Yeah, I was, well, so me and Earl and Sombrero Man were over on the north goal for that first half on United's attacking side, and I was watching. I wasn't even watching for it. It just every time Guzman touched the ball in the first half, it was like a guaranteed turnover, and it was just so infuriating. And then for the subs, all 5 subs to come on, and not take Guzman off at any point, I was shocked. And if, like I said, if we don't score those 2 goals or one of those 2 goals anyways, and we come away with a draw, I am screaming bloody murder that Guzman should never play for this club again. He had a better game Monday, but he still just I don't know why he's there.
So here's the thing. I said it all last year, half of the year before, and I'm pretty sure more than half the year before. JPG, I've had the hate bandwagon fired up for him all last year, at least since I've been on this podcast. I'm just glad you guys are finally catching up.
Well, hold on now. I was screaming for our buddy Tony Soler to be playing over Juan Pablo Guzman all season, that first season. If you go back and look at those first matches, Soler started, I think, 2 or 3 of the first several matches and played really well, I thought, and outplayed Juan Pablo by a mile, in my opinion. And then he just, I don't know what happened, but he just stopped playing. And it was kind of around the time where we started falling off. And so I have been there with you the whole time as well. It's just we haven't had a way to communicate it because we didn't talk much that first year.
Anyways, I still think, and I still own the wagon that's hooked up to the horses on the Juan Pablo Guzman hate. And I'm gonna have to start charging tickets the more you guys hop on.
That's fine. You can own it. You can drive it. You can lead that bandwagon all you want. I'm riding shotgun with you is all I'm saying.
Well, while you guys are circling the wagons on releasing JPG from his contract, I will say there is a player who had a worse night than JPG on Friday.
Hold on. I never said release him from his contract. I said take him off the starting 11.
I'll say release him. I don't care.
Yeah, I never said release him. I said put him on the bench. He might be a hell of a bench player, but he's not a good starting player.
Seth, you've actually been pretty mum on the Juan Pablo Guzman thought train here. Like, we're not crazy, right? He's been terrible, and specifically the Colorado Springs match. Like, I know we're not crazy there. So are you crazy?
I would say he was worse in the El Paso match, and he played a lot better in the Colorado Springs match on Friday night. Now rewatch the first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And so the second half,
the first 18 seconds.
Yeah, the second half of the Colorado Springs match, I will say he played much better. But the first half, I think he completed 7 passes and turned it over 6 times. So he was, if you look at his stats at the end of the game, he had like a 70% passing rate. But if you looked at halftime, it was atrocious. It was terrible. I don't think he turned the ball over at all in the second half. He probably passed the ball backwards a lot in the second half, but the most egregious turnover he had was him passing the ball backwards. So I don't have the El Paso match fresh in my mind, but I know I was screaming at him then too. So maybe he was worse in that one. But the first half of the Colorado Springs match, I think, was the worst I've seen a midfield player play since I started watching soccer. And I'm a Tottenham fan.
I'm pretty sure there are worse Spurs performances than what JPG has shown, but
maybe that first half was brutal though. Like I just, it was gross.
I think you guys are going a little too far on that. I wouldn't put it as brutal, but it definitely was something that, those mental errors were catching up to him, and I think that he wasn't quite as confident as he needed to be. And so I think that was just like playing in the back of his mind. But he did I will say he turned it around against Colorado Springs. He did play a lot better in the second half, and he showed more on Monday, which we'll get to that. But I honestly feel like he's still our best defensive mid option. Now, that being said, I don't think he's our best midfielder. by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey! I'm the one with the bad takes here.
No, yeah, if you want to call that a bad take, by all means, you have every right to do so. I don't think it is. In my opinion, it's not a bad take. Like, he's definitely JPG is 30, 32, 32. No, he's born.
I don't know.
I
No.
think he was born in 88. So I think
So
he's
he's 33.
32, 33. He has definitely taken a step back in terms of, I think, fitness, decision making, and things like that. But I don't think he is atrocious. I don't think that. Do I think we need to find a better option? Yes, I think we do. I think Sam would have been great. I think having Tanari out there is a good option. But given where we're at and what we have, and what Troy likes to do, I think JPG is the best option. Now, I mean, you could potentially take Guzman out and throw a Zira in there every single match. I don't know why that's and it'd be a pretty close like for like exchange, but I can't see Juan Pablo as being atrocious. But yeah, go back to Friday night.
So yes, he is atrocious. He is also abysmal, and any other word that starts with A that is not good.
Abominable.
That's where he's at. He's on that level, abominable, and let's keep coming, keep him coming, Jacob.
That's all I had. Sorry.
But
So that's the thing, and we watch. So you say that there's no alternative to JPG other than Azira, which is not true. We saw Christian Nava come on and nutmeg a grown ass man within a matter of a minute and a half.
yes, Nava did nutmeg and played the switchbacks player and played really well. However, Christian is 17 years old. He doesn't have the experience.
Who cares?
He doesn't have the
Let
size.
him get it.
No, he will, and we all want to see that.
Here's
And I
what
think Christian is better and is going to be better going forward than JPG is. I don't see Christian playing as a defensive mid. Now I could be wrong.
So here's
Maybe
where
we
I
haven't
look
seen
at it.
enough of him yet.
is yes, Christian Nava is 17 years old, but the decisions that JPG makes could be compared to like an AYSO 6-year-old. They're terrible.
Can we get the Stephen A name underneath Earl's picture there on YouTube?
We can
I'm torn because I don't like Juan Pablo out there, but at the same time, we're missing 4 players right now, and yes, they're not necessarily the same position as Guzman, but when you have 4 players out, it forces players like Tanari, who I would think would be the most natural person to replace Guzman if I were to do it, and it forces him to play a little farther up the pitch because we've got Brian Brown, Harry Swartz, and Armando Moreno all out right now for 2 for injury and 1 for national team duty, and then Sam is also a fantastic defensive midfielder, and he was playing defensive midfield when he got hurt Friday night, and I have to say that when I first saw that lineup, I was very excited by that because the first year that's what he mainly played was midfield. So seeing that, I was like, oh, I'd almost completely forgot that he played midfield and could be an option to replace Guzman. So losing those players for various reasons or not having them for various reasons, and then yes, Nava came in, he showed out. I won't agree on the 17 and lack of experience thing, because I feel like he's a confident enough kid and has been playing with New Mexico United's first team and practicing against them and playing with them for training and everything like that for a year or so. Um, but his size, man, I love a little guy, but he's a little too little. Um, it's one thing to be short, like Tanari is short, but Tanari is a little stocky guy. Nava's just a young kid that hasn't filled out yet, and because of that, I think if he was to be in there day in and day out, match in and match out, he would get eaten up over the course of a season. So he would be fine in the short term, maybe a match or two, but but to try to count on him for how many games do we have left? 22, um, maybe just
20.
21 now. Um, it would be tough. So I am firmly on the bandwagon that is taking Guzman out of town. But at the moment I can't go as far as say no, put Nava in for him. I just can't. So there's got to be some balance there, Earl. You never go full Stephen A.
So I completely disagree once again, because that's what Stephen A would do with Max Kellerman over there. He would completely disagree. And I still believe that Nava could be a decent replacement.
What are you talking about, Stephen A? What are you talking about right now?
Christian, I mean, one day Christian Nava
So-
will be the full-time starter in the midfield, just not this year.
So no, I agree with that. He won't be the full starter, but we will consistently see him in the 18, and hopefully see him more often than just a one-off like they did with Touche. Hopefully, we see him more often than not, preferably taking over for JPG. But for some reason, there's some high train going on with JPG that he's essentially the second coming of Jesus, and nothing can happen with him.
I don't think anyone's saying that at all. Like I don't think anyone on this podcast or in the United Nation is saying that JPG is is the second coming of Christ. Like I don't think that's the case at all. But you look at the options you have available. You look at Nava. You look at the other guys, and Nava will one day be the full-time starter. And we were talking to Troy last night after the match. He was, Robles and Nava were both in the 18, and Troy has been very outspoken about the youth talent, and he said that those two are probably the farthest along, the two best players on the pitch. If you go back to the last match against El Paso prior to the first team match of the preseason, that Nava and Robles were the two best players on the pitch for that. And it just wasn't the right time to get them in last night. And so Troy has said, they've earned their spots and they are going to get playtime when it's the right time for them. And Troy has maintained from day one, he's going to start who he feels is the best fit. He's going to sub in who he feels is the best fit for the run of the match, the way things are going. And so, I mean, Nava's going to get more time this season for sure. Robles more than likely. Zarate maybe, but I mean, he's definitely earned his spot in the roster and earned consideration every match to potentially be in the 18, which I think is fantastic. And so, I mean, there's a lot of positives to look at going forward for maybe later this season and on into next season as he develops more and hopefully puts on a few inches and pounds, and can stand. Can withstand the beating that he's going to take playing in that midfield role, playing against some of these bigger clubs. Now talking about Sam, Jacob, we talked about him here a little bit. Sam, of course, did get hurt Friday night. The club came out, I believe it was yesterday morning, and said that Sam had a fibular fracture. And he was, after talking to Troy last night, Sam is expected to hopefully undergo surgery tomorrow on Wednesday to have that taken care of. And Troy believes that he will be back before the end of the season. So, and he went so far as to say, anyone who knows Sam knows how hard of a worker he is. And, if there's any expectation that he's going to be back by the end of the season, Sam will make that happen. So, A little bit of good news there. It's probably the most detailed we've ever heard Troy get in terms of an injury. And he did also mention that Harry and Brian are both day to day, week to week, and they're both working their way back. And Harry's getting closer to being back in the 18. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take away from that match Friday night. I feel like we didn't do as well as we should have being up a man. I think we had opportunities that we didn't take advantage of, and we allowed Colorado to continue to press forward. But that's all, again, also credit to Colorado. I mean, they are a good club. They're very good this year. And if you can continue to attack being down a man and putting the pressure on that they did, I mean, any other club I feel would have conceded again to Colorado and wouldn't have been able to have the comeback that we did there.
So for the record, without that Haji Berry goal, I would have went 2 for 2 on my predictions over the weekend. So, fuck you, Haji Berry.
Are you done now? Thanks. We did have a small formation change over the 2 games this weekend. We saw more of a 3-4-3 instead of that 3-5-2, and I think I got to say that I like this 3-4-3 a little bit better. I think we've just been a little more consistent in the attack, and I mean, I've said this from after the first few matches. I said that I thought our defense was solid, our goalkeeping is great, the attack I thought has looked good. We've just lacked finishing, and I still think that's kind of a problem. But I feel like the attack was even a little bit better with this 3-4-3, and I feel like I mean, Illich, Devin, Brown, Amando, they're all proven scorers in this league, and I don't think they're going to keep having those misfires from inside the 18 for much longer. Like it's got to change eventually. There's just too much talent on the pitch for it to keep going the way that it's been going. So the panic button, the lid has been closed. I've stepped away from it. I can still see it. I can still get to it in a hurry if I need to. But 6 points in 4 days in front of home fans definitely eases a lot of the burden. We've now moved up back into the playoff picture. I was trying to pull it up and got distracted. We, I believe, are going to be sitting third if this USL website ever loads.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're sitting third. We have played 3 more matches than El Paso, 1 more than RGV, and 2 more than Colorado Springs. So we have played more matches than anybody else aside from Real Monarchs. But we're back up there. We got 20 points. We're only a point behind El Paso and RGV for first place, even though they have those matches in hand. All in all, I think it's just we're trending in the right direction. We hopefully got it turned around. I don't think we have another long road stretch again this year.
I think we have another 3-match stretch later
I don't think so. I'm not saying it.
I could be wrong. That's what I remembered it.
So we got 2 there, 2 there. Yeah, so 2 is our longest away stretch now, and we got 2 of those. 1 at the end of September, beginning of October, and then 1 at the end of August. So we're not going to see that 3 away games in 8 days again. We're, like I say, we're trending up. I think we'll be in a lot better shape moving forward. I will I will go out on a limb and say we won't lose 3 games in a row again. I will say that. But I think I'm done on the Colorado Springs match. It's not fresh in my mind because we've watched another match since then. And I think the next match is probably the best match we've played maybe all year, but definitely up the San Antonio match, the last match that we had at home before this 3-game nasty road streak. Those two, that one and then this one on Monday, I think have been what I've thought have been our best played matches all year.
I do have one final point on Colorado Springs, and that was probably the worst match I've ever seen played by Kalen Ryden. He had a number of mental errors there that nearly ended in goals, and he was visibly upset after the match with how his performance was, and I felt like, coming into last night, like he really needed to make a statement in his level of play, and to me, he did in the match against Charleston.
Yeah, and just to touch on that a little bit, I mean he's been off a few matches this year. I can't remember if it was. I think it was that Colorado Springs loss a couple Fridays ago. I think he had a turnover in that match that led to a goal, and then in the first match against Colorado Springs, him and Austin both kind of sit there and they do this thing. It almost bit them on Friday night too, where a ball gets played over them, and immediately they go, "Oh, offside," and they just stop playing. Him and Austin both have done that a couple times, and against Colorado Springs that first time when Haji Berry scored that first goal in the opening minute, they both did that, and it cost them. And then they, like I said, Friday they both did it again because Haji was offside, but they did not see. I think it was Galena coming in from the other side, and he came from an onside position, and it almost bit him in the ass then. So he has not played the best season that we've seen him play for us or anywhere for that matter. But Monday he did come out and scored the goal, got man of the match, and looked a hell of a lot better. I like the fact that he acknowledged in the press conference last night. You were there. You asked a great question, and he responded with what I thought, well, we both thought was a fascinating answer, where he basically said, yeah, Friday night sucked for him, which you could see when he came off the pitch. He was just completely dejected, even though we won 3-1. And it actually made me think about it. So like usually if we win and a player doesn't play well and he's mad about it, he gets criticized a little bit. But I feel like in this situation, I think Ryden was happy, obviously, that we got the 3 points, but I think you can be upset with yourself and say, oh, man, that should have been a shutout if it wasn't for my dumb mistake or this or the other. So the fact that he acknowledged that it was a bad match for him, and he was able to, in 3 days, mind you, turn it around, mentally change his attitude there and come out and have a hell of a match and win man of the match, just speaks to the level of talent that Kalen Ryden is, and all the more happy that we signed him to another 2-year extension, and unless he gets poached by somebody, which honestly, if an MLS team came and made him their starting center back, I think he would thrive there too, and I'd be very happy for him. But barring that happening, he will be a New Mexico United player for this season and 2 more after that, which I'm ecstatic about.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, we talked to Kalen after the match last night. And speaking of, we have that up behind us. So we got the highlights planned. So we've almost through the first loop of that. So I actually made it out to the match last night. I wasn't planning on being there, but I did manage to get out there. And I know you guys weren't there. Monday night's hard match for folks to get to, and club turned out a good sized crowd. Almost 7,600 folks on a Monday night, which I thought was fantastic. And you look at it again. This is a match against an Eastern Conference opponent we've never seen before. we've kind of dubbed it the Troy Lassane Cup, and Troy thought we should change the name of that. But Charleston came into town. It was obviously the former home of Troy, Zach, Mike, and Michael Azira and Alex Tambakis, all of whom have played or coached with them in the past. And so this was a big opportunity for United, and it ended up being another match where you had 9 more yellow cards and another red card that came after the final whistle. But this is again, probably one of the better matches we've seen from the club. And right here, the first highlight that we've seen here, Kalen Wright, of course, getting his. I saw a tweet while I was at the stadium last night from the USL Championship saying that Kalen opened his account with the club, which is incorrect. Kalen did, of course, score last season for us, but he did open his account for this season with a fantastic header off of a really good JPG cross, which I know Earl's not going to be too happy about. But, I thought another goal from a set piece.
Wait. What did you just say?
You weren't going to be too happy about the fact that JPG got an assist.
Yeah, I don't care.
But watch, it was just a fantastic ball into the far post, and I honestly wasn't, and that's not something that we typically see out of JPG. But he put a great delivery on the ball, a great placement on it, and Kalen just went up, put a fantastic header in. But yeah,
he had one good play
in
in 3 years.
I will also argue that I think anybody on the roster could have made that play. He had so much time and space, and Kalen had one-on-one against a forward. There, you could have put the ball in probably a 20-foot space there, and Kalen would have found a way to get to it before. Oh damn it! I just lost his name. I can't think of the name for Colorado, or for Charleston, but Kalen was going to get to that ball almost no matter where it was and find the back of the net. Like he one-on-one Kalen against anybody. I'll take Kalen, and there was nobody else even close. So yes, he made a good cross. He gets the assist. I think if that was anybody else in that same position, they would have done the same thing. So can't credit him too much. Or I should say,
That's what I said. I won't give him credit because that's his first good play in, God, how many games have we played since 2019? He has, how many minutes has he played? I think it was like 520 something last time we talked.
something like that.
It was some stupid number like that, and he's had one good play. He's had one good play.
So in that case, will you not be voting
take
for
away
the guys
one
for goal of the week if they get nominated?
Wait, what did you ask?
If that goal gets nominated for goal of the week, will you refuse to vote for it on the grounds that JPG doesn't deserve credit for it?
No, absolutely not, because JPG won't get credit for it. Because goal of the week goes to the person who scored the goal, which I mean, we all watched the same game. It did come off the forehead of Kalen Wrighton. It didn't come off the foot of JPG. It came off Kalen Wrighton, who got the score. So yeah, I'll take away one horse on the wagon of JPG, but I'm almost willing to put it right back next week on the 21st when we play whoever the hell's on the 21st.
San Antonio.
San Antonio. So yeah, so I'm willing to put that horse back. So a president once said, "Stand down and stand by," or something like that.
Oh no!
And I'm gonna tell my horse that. Stand down and stand by.
Good night, guys.
All right, we're done. We've now been canceled.
Can you bleep the shit out of that?
Yes, I will. Oh my god.
There is somebody watching.
Hey, I didn't say which president.
No, but
you don't need to.
No, everyone
There's
knows.
4 people on YouTube.
I can't.
There's 2 other people watching somewhere over here.
Unfortunately, I can't mute YouTube. I can't bleep that on YouTube. But yeah, wow. I honestly feel like JPG had a pretty good match on Monday night, and There was a moment there towards the end of the first half where he got real fired up, and there was a bit of a rugby scrum starting in the middle of the pitch, and JPG played pretty well. He wasn't taking any crap from the Charleston midfielders, and he was making much better decisions than we've seen in the past. And so I feel like he could something about last night. He just stepped his game up. Maybe it was trying to fill in for Sam. I don't know, but I mean, you guys give JPG a lot of hate on the show, and so what was your take on his play last night?
Well, I can probably speak for Earl.
Like I said, good.
I can probably speak for Earl and say he had one good play. He sucks. Get him out of here. And that's that. I'm trying. First of all, I'm trying to pull up the stats, right? And the USL website, you can go to the schedule. You go to team schedules, and you can see all of New Mexico United games. But you cannot get to the stats page for those games from that page. And it is the stupidest thing in the world. Fix it, USL. Fix it.
Fix your website in general. I want to click on a player name. I want to go to a team stats page and it go to 2021 stats, not 2020 stats. I found that happened the other day when I was looking at the El Paso stats. I was really annoyed with that. But, yeah.
So, anyways, I'm trying to pull up stats because I have theories, but I want to get them pulled up before I actually say anything about them. But I think overall the team played much, much, much better than we've seen them play. And I don't attribute that to Guzman playing better, although maybe I should, because Guzman has been the problem in the midfield for those three losses in a row. And again, like I said, I thought he played terrible against Colorado Springs, especially in the first half. So maybe when he plays better, we play better, and that I can attribute to the fact that we had a great game to the fact that he played much better. But that worries me because if we're relying on Guzman to have a good game in order to play good, might be a long season.
So you will never hear me say Guzman had a good game unless he has a really good game. He had one good play, decent play that led to a score. Congratulations. Can we move on?
Sure, we can move on.
Hold on.
Okay.
So he did have 75 passes, an 84% passing accuracy, only a 63% passing accuracy in the opponent's half, but he doesn't really do a lot in the opponent's half, so that doesn't really surprise me. I think he had a good game. He didn't just completely choke at all at any point. The Charleston goal wasn't a mistake. In fact, I'm fairly sure that they were offside on that play, but camera angles are tricky, so I can't really prove it. But at halftime, they were showing highlights, and they had a camera that was pretty close to in line with the play, and it dang sure looks like the player that scored that, I can't remember his name right now, was in an offside position. So I don't know. So if that goal gets called back, like maybe it should have, maybe we're sitting here talking about a 2-0 game and everybody's thinking that we're back 100% because that San Antonio game was. I think I give that San Antonio game the title of our best game this season because San Antonio did nothing in that match. 75% or 72% possession for us in that match. A shutout, scored 2 goals. Just we were in control that whole time. So I'll give that one an edge above this because of that. But if that goal gets called for offside, maybe I'm singing a different tune. But I will reluctantly give Guzman some credit.
All right. Well, that highlight for the Charleston goal is going to come up here in just a second. Yeah, here it is. So it looks to me like on this play, I mean, there's a chance, but it looks like Austin may have just played him onside. I mean, again, that angle there from the right center field wall, it's very tough to see. Um, so I mean, it just it's tight. It's hard to say for sure. Maybe it gets called back. If you have VAR, maybe it doesn't. But it happened, and what I think happened on that play, which is kind of an anomaly for the night, is that Rosh missed his assignment there. Rosh didn't get back quite enough, which was to me disappointing to see because Rosh had played so well, and there were moments earlier in the first half where I was up in the press box. I was talking to David Carl, and I said, "Man, there's some great defensive play going on, but it will never make the highlight package." So there were two moments in particular that I wanted to point out, and one was I think it was the 7th or 8th minute. Austin was defending down the right hand channel over by the home plate area, and he just stood up. Whoever the Austin player, or not the Austin, the Charleston player, I want to say it was Harmon. It might have been Harmon. He just stood him up and stood his ground, and ultimately, created a situation where Charleston turned the ball over. Just fantastic defending by Austin, and then a few minutes later, Rosh did the same thing over by the touchline on the third base side, and he just stood up to the player, pinned him in up against that corner, and did not prevent him from making any sort of play back in. And in moments later, there was an Austin header, for a clearance, and there were some really great moments of defensive play that I wanted to point out, but unfortunately, we don't have the highlights of it. And it's not. I mean, David said he could go back and grab them, to show to put them out there later on. And there was just some really good defensive plays that happened, and then for Rosh to seem to miss that assignment and not get back in time, I think that's what opened up that pass there for Repetto to score, which was unfortunate. But from that point forward, I mean, the club really responded and played pretty solidly until much later in the game, where it looked like Charleston was going to have a couple opportunities to net another one.
Yeah, I think that the defensive woes, the goals that we've given up lately, really are doing a disservice to Yearwood in particular. I think Yearwood has probably been like team of the week or team of the year caliber there at his position, and I don't think that you get rewarded for that unless your team is really, really good defensively. And so if we were sitting here and we'd only give it up, 12, 13 goals through the 12, 13 matches that we've played, maybe then or less than that. I mean, like maybe 8 goals through the 13 matches that we've played, then maybe then you have people looking at it like, oh, okay, these guys are great defensively. They need to be recognized in some way. And if anybody watches the games this year, Ryden has made mistakes, like we've said. So Yearwood would be the guy to get that recognition. But because we gave up, 8 goals in 3 matches on that road trip, and then another 2 this weekend. That's not going to get looked at it as, oh, these guys are a great defensive team, at least at the moment. So hopefully the defense just tightens up again, and we can get some more clean sheets in a row, and they can get credit that they are due, especially Austin, because he has been spectacular all season. He's been the most consistent player we've had, I believe. Him and maybe Tim Bacchus. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for the way he's played this year and his growth from year one. I thought he was very good year one anyways, but he had an injury and then just never kind of got back to complete form. So I'm thrilled to see Austin doing that. And speaking of Austin, he did just win goal of the month for last month when he scored that worldie against San Antonio.
Yeah, and that was another discussion we were having in the box as well. Was the play of Austin and of Kalen, and Kalen's mistakes over the past couple weeks aside, if you if the we were all basically of the same opinion, last night that if United can get that goals against average back down to where it was prior to that 3 match stretch, we could potentially see both Kalen and Austin getting team of the year nods at the end of the year because of how well they've played so far.
I think the goals against average would have to be incredible to get two defensive players on team of the year. But but yeah, if it does that and they get hot the rest of the year and Kalen and Austin put up the amount of minutes that I think they will, then yeah, I mean it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it needs to be like we've got 21 matches left. We need to give up like 10 goals in those 21 matches uh, to get it down to where I think we would even have a chance at getting two on. I think it's going to be hard to get even one on. I mean, just when you look at like the Eastern Conference in particular, it's just a lower scoring league over there because they play kind of a little bit different style for the most part, anyways. Most of the teams over there, so you're always going to have a team like Tampa Bay that doesn't give up a lot of goals and is almost a shoe in to get Lasso or not Ted Lasso, but Forrest, I think is his first name. Um, I mean, he's a great defender, and they have a great defense. So it'll take a lot, but it's not impossible. And at the moment, I would put Austin over Kalen, um, but that doesn't mean Kalen's a bad defender. He's just had a couple rough moments. I think Kalen is incredible and probably one of the team MVPs so far. Still, even with that that couple miscues that he's had.
Earl, what were your takeaways from the attack last night? Now, we've seen over the past few matches, leading up to the past couple matches, United has kind of suffered a little bit. But last night, especially, seemed to be a lot better. What's your takeaway from how they played last night?
So I think the attack played a whole lot better, miles better than what they played Friday night, and then steps and leaps in whatever canyons better than the 3 game skid that we were on. Um, we saw Dev have I think like 9 opportunities, 9 shots on frame, or something around that number. So Dev looked hungry and looked like he wanted to get back into his winning ways. Um, I don't remember who else scored last night, or Kalen. But yeah, our attack looked like it was there, and they wanted to be there, and they wanted to win, is what it was.
Yeah, that was something that Dev talked about in the post match press conference last night. It was that he felt like over the past 4 or 5 matches that the flow has really started feeling a little bit feeling a lot better for the team. And he said especially last night, like they really kind of figured out like what he was wanting to do up top and how he was wanting to get service. And he said he felt like he'd been knocking on the door for a while and getting back on the score sheet. And his play last night, especially the play in which he scored, it just showed a tenacity. Like he kept going. Like he could have stopped and not followed through on that rebound off of Kuzminski, but he just kept going and got the ball in the back of the net. And we saw him get another pretty good shot later in the first half that he had Dev had some really good looks. They're trying to play the ball over the top there for a while, especially in the second half when Charleston was trying to press a little bit higher. I saw some folks complaining about that. Why are we playing the ball out of the back? And like, well, or they were saying that the long ball wasn't working. It's playing the battery's hands. Like, well, when Charleston's pressing high like that, you can't necessarily play the ball around the back and build up like United wants to do. So you have to play that long ball to try to open things up and force Charleston to drop back a little bit deeper. And so, yeah, I saw some great deliveries over the top. I saw some great service into Dev. Sergio had a great cross there on the goal. We just saw the highlight there, and really happy for Dev to see him get back on the score sheet. And hopefully this is the start of some good things to come for him.
Yeah, I don't know how much I give him credit for sticking with the rebound. I think I give him all the credit in the world for that run to get the first touch on it. But the ball just kind of bounces off Kaminsky and it bounces off of him and goes in. Like he was already there. I don't feel like he moved any to get to the rebound, but it was still a well-earned goal. I think the play of that goal was actually Brucey's pass to Sergio, though. Just a great through ball to get Sergio free behind there to allow him to pick out Devin making that run, and Devin made a beautiful run and gets a foot to it. We see him get a foot to a lot of crosses all the time that you wonder kind of how he does it. The one coming to my mind is there was one, I believe it was against Phoenix in year one, where he just, I don't know what kind of kick you would call it, but he jumps pretty high in the air and just sticks his foot out, and it barely hits his toe and gets redirected in, and he does some crazy stuff like that, and when things are going good for him like that, I love to watch him, and I'm glad that he's finding some form. I know we had some harsher things to say. Maybe we as just me, maybe as me and Earl or Stephen A. Earl over there. But he had a rough go there for a little bit, and a lot of people were calling him to come off the bench, and now we don't have that luxury because Armando and Brown are both gone, and we're pretty short up front, so pretty thin up front. So he's going to have to come in and produce for 90 minutes. Unless him and Illich kind of split time up there at the tip of that attack. But I thought it was probably his best game of the season by far. And that just when he's going good and Guzman is going good, the talent around both of them is fantastic, even if we're a little thin in spots, and you just see kind of how tough we are to play when everybody's kind of clicking and everybody's doing what they do well, and they're doing it well for that match. So again, I think it was one of the best matches that we've seen. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe see if you guys remember. We were terrible on set pieces in year one, weren't we?
Oh yeah,
like we were just atrocious, and that has come so far from year one to now, and I believe it is Kalen that answered a question at the presser last night, and he gave all the credit to Zach Prince, the assistant, for figuring them out, finding opponents' weaknesses and where to attack an opponent on a set piece, and man, is it paying off. I don't know if maybe Troy was doing that in year one, and that's just not Troy's thing, or if Zach's just gotten better at it, or they've just gotten more used to the USL caliber defenses in set piece opportunities, but he has been working those set pieces and drawing them up just absolutely perfectly. We've seen countless goals off of set pieces this year, and before it was like a set piece was a wasted play. Like our best set piece would have been to just play it short and restart the attack out of the back and keep possession at times. So to come from that to seeing this gorgeous play that gets Kalen one-on-one with a forward trying to stop him, I mean, that just it's a thing of beauty, and I'm very excited to see what else we can do on the set pieces going forward, because if we can score on set pieces and find the attack in open play, our attack could be deadly if we can start finishing in open play. So that play just, you think of that one, you think of the Guzman dummy, and then a charging Suggs against Colorado Springs. What else you got? You got the 0-1 for the game winner against Colorado Springs just Friday. If you watch that, Azira pops out at the perfect time and gets one-on-one with the defender that I don't even think the defender knew he was there. He just kind of snuck in behind him and then goes up and just gets the ball. And it was definitely a design for Azira to do that. And they were kind of cheeky about it in the press conference, saying Cello was just saying he was just trying to put it in a good spot. But I think that good spot was right there. I think that was where he was supposed to go with it. I think that was the play all along. And so if Zach can keep drawing these set pieces up and the guys can keep executing them, then that's exciting, because instead of looking at a set piece as a lost opportunity, you're excited about set pieces again. You know, you're Earl and you're Sombrero Man and you're getting your phone out and you're like, oh, it's a set piece. There's a decent chance we're gonna score here. I'm gonna get it on film. Whereas before you were just using camera space if you were trying to film those set pieces. So that has been one of the biggest positives for me on the offensive side of the ball this year is our set piece execution has just been spectacular.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a big area of improvement for the club. And there were, honestly, I feel like last night we got some like really good answers in the press conference.
Yeah, they were great.
And it's stuff that we really hadn't seen before. Troy gave us some injury updates and things like that, and like some real like candid answers that we're not used to getting. And there, you brought up something a minute ago talking about how thin we are right now with guys being out and filling in those gaps. And I think this is a great place to kind of start winding down the show. And Earl, I want to direct this question to you. Talking to Troy in the presser last night, I believe it was Ken Stickinger from the Albuquerque Journal who came up with the question, asking him about the roster and how thin we are right now with a number of injuries and players out and things like that. And Troy had a great reply, and it was. And I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have it pulled up, but Troy basically says he has the guys out there that he wants. He trusts every single player to go out there and do their jobs and he's going to continue to put out the guys that he trusts and believes that can get the job done each and every night. And he likes the roster the way it is. He likes having it small. He thinks having guys coming in and out all the time, having 26 plus guys on a roster is just absolutely crazy. And so Earl, to you, like, what do you feel like at this point we still need to go out and find a couple more bodies? Do you think Troy is making use of the roster in the best possible way? And do you think that we can maintain this level of play with the smaller roster?
So I'm gonna start backwards. Yes, I do think we could maintain this level of play with a small roster. I do think with the injury to Sam, that we do need to go out at least find someone in the back line, maybe even the defensive midfielder that can fall to the back line and cover that Sam Hamilton spot. Even if it's coming off the bench, so you don't lose morale off the players that are already there, but someone that can come in and just have that depth to add to what we already have. Do I like the roster that we have right now? Yes, of course. And that's probably just the fanboy in me talking. I like the roster all but one. So if we could find some kind of defensive mid that could even fill that spot, and then that we talk about a lot comes off the bench, I'd be okay with that. But to answer your question, yes, I think we have the roster to do what we want to do. I think we have the depth, but I do think that we should at least look at a couple free agents or a couple people to bring in to kind of bolster the depth that we lost with Sam.
I believe that there is a former United player out there that is available by the name of Tony Soler, who plays a defensive mid, where he's just a box-to-box midfielder that I wouldn't mind picking up, but it's not going to happen, which is why this question is infuriating, because I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, yes, I want another player or two, because I think we're a little too thin. Once the injuries start, you don't know where they're going to stop. So I'd rather have somebody in right now that is working with the club. That way, if there is another injury or something happens, like heaven forbid, like the Manny Padilla situation last year, where we lose a player for whatever reason, that we have a replacement already there, and instead of scrambling to try to find somebody. But Troy's been adamant for 3 years now that the roster size, he wants it small, he wants it close, tight knit group, doesn't want to disrupt it, which I think is fine. But you see a team like Sacramento Republic who has had trouble in the attack, and they went out and got Jerome Kiesewetter from loan from Tulsa today, and that might not work out. It might be a dud. I'm not high on Kiesewetter's talent or personality, so I wouldn't necessarily say you want to bring in somebody that could be toxic like I think Kiesewetter can, but because I have a feeling that's why he wasn't, or why he's not in Tulsa anymore, because he wasn't really playing that much for Tulsa, and everybody thought, oh, this is a great signing. He's going to go in there and start and do all this, and he's not. And I think he might be upset about that. But I think there's plenty of kind of mid-level talent out there that is gonna come in with the right attitude, gonna fit in, and I think those guys are out there, and I wouldn't mind picking up one or two of them, because I do think, like, we were missing 4 guys, and because of that, we had to have 2 academy players in the 18. Granted, like Troy said, those players have earned that. They've worked their butts off and are really good. I want to win a championship, and if we get injuries at the wrong time, and Nava's got to play 50 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever, in a playoff match, I'm going to look at Troy. I'd be like, Troy, I love Nava just as much as you. I think it's a great story. If we want to win a championship, we can't have a kid that has very little experience in there because of some injuries, and we're so light in the first place. Like, you got to have depth in order to win in this league. So we'll see. I mean, I still think we can win a championship. This is just like worst case scenario. So I hope that we can get healthy and stay healthy throughout the rest of the year, and it not come back to bite us in the ass. But I would just feel much more secure about it if we had 1 or 2 more, starting caliber players. Even maybe not even starting caliber, maybe like another Tusher or 2 that are just solid players that are there to be on the bench. Like, I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I know Earl feels the same way. I never know what Seth feels, so he's the robot of the group. So, and he probably will give you a Troy answer of, well, I think we just got to go out there and play hard and take care of business, or some nonsense like that. So, but yeah, I think it's just a little too small for me. I'd like to see 22 players. That to me is the perfect number. And you got to make tough decisions on who's in your 18 in that case. But if everybody's healthy, but I'd rather be making those tough decisions than okay, which academy player do we need to bring up, and will he perform for us? So, not to take anything away from the academy kids, by the way, I love seeing the academy kids play. When Nava checked in on Friday, it was incredible. I cheered. I'm not supposed to cheer. Don't tell David Call, but I cheered for it. I thought it was great, and he came in and he did very well in limited minutes. But if you're trying to win a championship, and that happens in the playoffs, you're going to get looked at like, man, you needed 1 more player or 2 just to be on the safe side. So that's just what I think.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to be relying on calling up academy kids, especially later in the season and into the playoffs. And that's one of the things about the USL season is that clubs have until September 24th this year to sign somebody, and maybe we're 1 or 2 players less than maybe what I would want, but I think with the club that we have, I think we still have a lot of flexibility. Like, we've seen Touche for 1 minute, literally 1 minute on the season. Touche could step in, maybe play a right back role, center back role. You've got Brucey, and that can play that wing back role on either side. Suggsy can play either side. We've seen that. So we have versatility. We have some guys that can fill in. And I don't mind the academy kids being in there, I think you definitely don't want them starting. They're not the answer at this time, but give them it gives them an opportunity to get some experience. They train with the first team, Zarate and Robles and Nava do, which is great for them. And so they're getting that exposure, then they're going to be ready before we know it. And you know again, maybe one more person just to help deal with the injury situation, especially because of how thin we are at the forward position. I think defensively and in the midfield, we're pretty okay on roster slots, but maybe in the forward position we look at somebody else. But I think we're going to be all right.
I think in the long run we will too. It's just I would just feel better if if we just had one more able body back there. But I mean, also there's not very many times in the year that you're going to have four people out for various reasons. Now, obviously, Sam is going to be a long-term thing, like you said. Coach does expect him back before the end of the year, but still, just uh, a little disconcerting that we don't have somebody that can really step in and take the place of people. And look, when you have players like Amando or Brian Brown, who in a Gold Cup year are at least threats to be leaving. Could you imagine? I mean, I know Brian was out with injury this last match, but could you imagine being without both of those and then having Harry and Sam down with injuries for a month? Like that's a big deal there, and maybe Troy surprises us and brings somebody in on loan or something like that. But I just think that we do still have the talent to compete and still win. I just worry about injuries because we've kind of been riddled with injuries really our existence. We've had several major ones like Justin being out all year last year and Austin missing time that year one and Dev misses time. Dev misses a game or two every year, it seems like, just with the nature of his play being so physical, he's going to get dinged up a little bit. So hopefully we just can weather the storm when it comes to injuries, and luckily we don't have something like the Open Cup this year that's gonna really stretch us out in matches. Like right now, we don't play again until Wednesday, so we don't even have a game to preview this week because we don't play again until Wednesday. And next week we're not going to have a game to review. So having that long of a stretch to kind of relax, get healthy. Hopefully, Harry and Brian can get back into form and can be ready for maybe not Wednesday night, but maybe Saturday night here against El Paso. So hopefully the injury bug is over and we can get healthy again. By that time, I think Amando could be back, depending on what El Salvador does in the group stage. So who knows? Maybe the next game we're talking about how all we're missing is Sam, and we've got a deep club again, and it's great because we don't know who to play and stuff like that. But just in the moment with those injuries and Amando being gone, I think our midfield is actually thinner than you let on, just because we're thin on forward, we're moving players up. So we'll see. And I'm cautiously optimistic about the roster size, and very optimistic about our chances of continuing to play well.
All right, everyone. I think that's going to just about do it for us here tonight. It is past Earl's bedtime, as usual. And so I thank you guys for joining us here on YouTube and listening in. And hopefully we get you folks more engaged in chat. And we'd love to talk to you guys. We are going to get some invitations out to be on the show to a couple different folks. So be looking out for those. We'd love to have you guys here in the chat with that. Guys, any closing comments before Jacob gets us out of here?
Earl is actually asleep right now, so I think we're good there. I will say that Jerry, you know who you are, and you have a standing invitation to come on this come on this podcast, you just reach out to me and let me know. We will get you on here. We will get you arguing with Earl. It'll be fantastic. Your takes are terrible on Facebook. Um, they are worse than Seth's take that you clipped out and put on some little makeshift meme that was very poorly done. I thought the transitions could have been a lot smoother. And if only you were as good at social media as your team is on the pitch, um, then maybe I would respect you a little bit more. But all kidding aside, I love the banter, and and you are welcome on the pod. Uh, and I know you said you'd be listening to this, so this is strictly for you. I know you're listening, and this is exactly what you wanted. So I will give you that because I have a sneaky suspicion that in a couple weeks, the memes will be switched, and you'll be pretty quiet on social media. Although I will give him credit because even in losses, or like the game where we drew 1-1, I believe it was that match that he decided to put a picture of a referee with a United shield on, which I thought was absolutely ludicrous. So even in games where El Paso doesn't perform well, he still finds a way to talk shit, and I respect that at least. So with that, I think we're good. Like I said, next week we'll be here Tuesday night, 9:30 on YouTube again. And those that listen, it'll be out Thursday. Actually, that one Seth might actually have to stay up late and get out there because it'll have the preview for a Wednesday match. So next Wednesday, if you're listening to this, we won't have a review, but we will preview the San Antonio match, which hot take maybe, San Antonio sucks, I think. So you will see my full take on that next week. And until then, guys, enjoy a weekend with no soccer. Husbands, that means you can spend time with your wives. Earl, I'm looking at you. You can spend time with your kids if you have kids. You cannot be an absentee husband and dad during soccer season for at least 1 week, unless you're an MLS fan, which in case, go watch LAFC. You can see both of them shaking their head because they don't know what good soccer is. Actually, I can't say that. Atlanta has a cup, so and LAFC does not. So, anyways, guys, social media, Somos Mas NM. Email us, Jacob, Oral, or Seth at somosmasnm.com. I will have a written piece up this week. I did not tell Seth about this, and Seth is scared because I haven't written anything basically this year. But I will have something up, hopefully by the end of the week, but maybe this weekend, especially since there's no soccer, at least no New Mexico United soccer. And yeah, I can't wait to get back on the pitch, or for United to get back on the pitch. It kind of sucks that we had 2 games where we started to find our footing, and now we have over a week off. But what do you do? So next week, 9:00, 9:30 ish, we'll be back. And until next time, Somos Unidos.
All right, YouTube, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back on Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Again, be sure to be here, be in chat, and join the conversation with us. Until next time, guys, later.